to the Christian Media Marketing Show. My name is John. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It is a hot day here in Tennessee, where we are based out of, and it seems like a heat wave is going on. Lots of stuff going on, lots of political things going on, just so much happening in the world. But let me assure you, Jesus is still in control. Our God is still in control. Nothing is catching him off guard. He's not surprised. And he cares about you. He cares about you personally, not because of the work you do, but because of the work that he's doing in you. You matter to him. So thanks for being a part of the show today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate when I get emails and even just sometimes notes of encouragement from you all. We do this show, we research these topics, we have the weekly marketing rundown, we do trainings, we go and work with teams. We do this because we care as well about you, about the King, and about the kingdom. There's some, I think, exciting stuff that's coming up here soon from Kavanaugh ourselves that I'll be talking about and referencing here. We've filed some paperwork to help us expand what it is that we do and hopefully be able to benefit even more teams around the world. But I'll share more about that at some other time. What I want to be talking about today is that there was and they're not even sure if it was a leak or a discovery of some documents that Google has and has put forth, and people either found it or they searched for it and got it somehow. But this information has been made public, and it refers to what Google's search algorithms use. And there's a tremendous amount of information that's in there, over 14,000 things. All right. So what I'd like to do today is I've gone through that. I've listened also to several different podcasts, read different documents of people who work in this area extensively, and have tried to boil it down to about 7, 8 or so different points that I think are impactful to you and your digital engagement, your online to offline, whatever it looks like, however you call it and however you do it, your work making Jesus known using technology and digital and social media. Well, these are the things I think are interesting to me, and I hope they are to you as well. So let's dive into the things that I've noticed from this Google search link. All right. So the documents that I have been able to see say that there was nearly 14,000 different factors that Google itself looks at when it's making a decision about what page to show someone, where that information shows up in the search engine result page in the SERP. And it's doing all this in just, a fraction of a second, all of these things. And I think it gives us some really significant insights into just itself how Google ranks search. So why is search important? Well, first of all, for your seekers, it means that the intent is there. They're seeking. They're already looking for an answer, and our results should be at the top. I think it's important that it's our information that shows up at the top of those search engine result pages. And by far, Google is the leading person when it comes to search. In fact, one of the things that I discovered is that 70% of all web traffic is impacted directly because of Google. It's either coming through search, it's on Google like YouTube or whatever else. 70% of the world's internet traffic is happening just on Google. And so it's important that we are using it, using Google Ads, using YouTube, but also just search itself, making sure that our pages are optimized for the search engines. And there's been all sorts of thoughts to it because Google really closely guards their information. They want to make sure that people don't know how they determine these things, because then people game it. That's what marketers do. We ruin things. So they've guarded it, and this information is really important, both because there's legal stuff. There's been some court cases about this, but then it's also just how do we make sure that people see the good news content that we want to see? So let's dive into it a little bit and just look at some of what has been revealed. So when it comes to just the things like metrics that Google uses, they have a thing in the documents that are referred to as good clicks, bad clicks, and last longest clicks. And so the key here, I think, is that they're looking at how long are people staying on your website. So if you go to a website and there's not much there for them, their average time on page is just a second. Well, your page isn't going to reflect well. And so they're looking at good clicks. People go to they click on several things. Maybe they watch another video, they research something, they search on something. All of that is giving you a picture of what they find valuable on your website. This is why we use tools to help us see heat maps of what people are doing on our website or our landing pages. Okay, so it's key to do good information there. So this is one of the metrics that they use, just clicks. And what are people doing on your website? So think about that. Another one is what they call site authority. And site authority measures your overall site quality and the authority. Is it your content? Are you the author of it? Is it your material? Are you adding to knowledge out there? And though the impact on this is unclear, it is something that the document says is looked into it. And so we've kind of thought this for quite a while. Like when you have people linking to you, when you're creating new content, all these things, your authority, your part of this information and how Google views it tends to go up, we think. And the document seems to show, yes, this is a part of what they're looking at. Another one is just your overall byline, the URL itself, the content dates on your pages. And what's interesting here, one of the things that I was able to discover is that Google basically saves and caches up to 20 different versions of your website and of your pages. And they're looking at that. And so even though maybe you've changed something, they can go back and see how much that you have changed it. So frequent content updates positively influence the rankings. So continue to put new information on your website. This is important. You own your website. You don't own YouTube. You don't own Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, any of those, but you can own your website. You choose what you put on there. And so make sure that that's important to you. In fact, I would say it's really important that you are continuing to put fresh content on there. And it seems to be that Google looks at that as well. So really be looking at the age of your content. Give it some refresh, update information, change some things. Okay. Another thing that I noticed was that there's a thing called a sandbox, and this controls spam from new websites. What it is not is it does not delay new websites from ranking. It does not stop your website from showing up in Google search, but it is controlling, from what we've been able to see, spam that's coming from it. That's what they're looking at when they have this concept of a sandbox. So it's okay if it's a brand new site. Keep doing the right things. They're looking at it to see if this is spamming, which is really good. It's one of Google's good security practices. So don't worry about if you have a brand new site. Just do the right thing. Put the content on there. Be constantly updating it. Make it some place that people want to go to. All right. And don't do spam. All right. Let's keep going. Another thing that the document leak indicated was that Google uses data from the Chrome browser itself for rankings. Now, this is really, really interesting. I use the Chrome browser. I also use Firefox and Brave and Safari and other ones, depending on what it is that I'm doing. But when it's using this, because it owns it, and by far, Chrome is the largest used browser out there. Well, this is adding another really interesting variable coming into it. It's another place that Google can see what people are actually doing. In fact, I'm just blown away, really, how much knowledge people have within Google from the data. I mean, I hear people get mad at Facebook or X or something else and the algorithms, but if we knew how much information, if you think about everything you've ever searched for, it's there and it's in their databases. So now even places you go, maybe you haven't searched, just sometimes it's just your usage of Chrome itself. I don't know if it means every web page. I'm not sure yet looking through this what this exactly means, but it does indicate that data from the Chrome browser is being used for rankings for sites. So certain sites can be whitelisted for certain specific types of contents. We've been able to find that out from it. So it's very interesting where all they're getting their information. Also, this is, I found very interesting, which is the idea that, oh, you need to have super long articles and put things that are really, really long on your website. If I have an article that's long, I'm going to break it into 2 or 3 pages. I want to see how much they're reading. And we do that through Google Tag Manager and being able to use Google Analytics to see time on page. But we could also then retarget to people who have been to page 2 of the article or page 3 of the article. There's ways to remarket there using code and pixels and stuff. But this seems to indicate that even short original content can rank really, really well. So it doesn't have to be a super long video, super long article, or whatever. It can be short. And so this in some ways contradicts the belief that longer content is always better. Well, that's not true. Original content is what's going to be better. So don't worry about the length of it as much as the quality of the content and just, is it original? Are you adding to knowledge out there, or are you just putting out something that people have already been doing? Final thing is that with all of this information, Google then came out and they actually confirmed the authenticity of this information. What they did say was, hey, be careful, because don't make too many assumptions on this because it may be outdated. It could be taken out of context. I get you. I think it was very telling that they didn't deny this. And so this came out in about March of this year was when this leak happened. And so this is pretty fresh information. And I doubt that they've changed things drastically. Now, it didn't list all 14,000. There's not all of these things into it. But just some of these nuggets right here, I think are things that can impact what you and I do with our content, with the stuff that maybe we reuse old ad things. That's something that we do. And specifically one location, we take our ad journeys and then we make them into new content that goes on the website. So we're reusing videos, text, next step journeys, whatever it is that we might be using there. All right. So I hope that this is some information that you can use immediately in your websites and in just the content that you are creating. So I do hope that you are using some of this information, that you are using Google, that you are creating content. And I hope that this is a benefit to you. That's always my prayer, is to hear that people are using this information to help them make Jesus famous. That's the most important thing. And the work that you do matters. And so don't stop doing that. Don't stop, keep pressing forward. And that's actually what I'm going to be talking about, Lord willing, in next week's podcast and video show, is just what role does being stubborn play in this? Is there a spiritual gift of stubbornness? And what does that look like? There's, I think, extremes on this where you could go to a place where it's not healthy, it's not spiritual. In fact, it doesn't even help your work itself. But I also think that there's a determination, a grittiness, I'm going to keep doing it and pressing forward, that we need to be looking into. So I'm going to be looking into that and how that applies directly to our digital engagement efforts, even on the ads that we run. At what point do we give up on them? At what point should we keep trying? At what point do we go, nope, this is junk? At what point do we go, it just needs a little bit more time cooking or baking here? So that's going to be next week. As always, if you appreciate this show, if you haven't yet, will you subscribe to it on your podcast? Will you give it a ranking? Will you tell other people about it? Same thing on the YouTube channel. Will you just go there? Will you subscribe to it? That way you hear about it when it comes out. You can share it with other people. All of these algorithms, all of these things do matter. And it is our desire that everyone out there can benefit from what digital and technology and marketing and all of these things can do to help make Jesus famous. And so whatever way we can be a part of that, where we can put our hand to the plow next to you, we want to be able to do that if the Lord allows and if he provides. All right, so keep pressing forward. We'll look forward to sharing with you again, Lord willing, next week. Don't stop, keep pressing, and may the Lord bless you in all you do to make his son famous. Bye for now.